Steve Harvey asked what seemed like a harmless Family Feud question, but when Samantha Jenkins gave her answer, Steve literally dropped his cards and walked away from the podium. The studio went dead silent. The cameras kept rolling as a secret that had been destroying a marriage for 7 months was exposed on national television. What happened next made Steve Harvey break down in tears, led to a live phone call that no one saw coming, and sparked a movement that would save thousands of marriages across America. This is the moment that changed Family Feud forever. It was April 17th, 2024, and the Family Feud studio was alive with its typical energy. The Jenkins family from Ohio was competing against the Thompson family from North Carolina, and the game had been entertaining from the start. Both families had delivered some funny answers that had Steve doing his signature double takes and exaggerated reactions. Samantha Jenkins, a 42-year-old nurse from Columbus, had been performing well for her team, showing quick thinking and good intuition about the survey answers. She seemed confident, warm, and completely at ease in front of the cameras. The Jenkins family had just stolen the board from the Thompsons and were working on a new question. They'd already found 3 of the top answers, and the pressure was building. Samantha stepped up to the podium, adjusting her purple cardigan and smiling at Steve as he approached with his cards. The studio lights were bright, the audience was engaged, and everything seemed to be proceeding exactly as expected for a Wednesday afternoon taping. Steve looked at his question card and smiled, clearly anticipating some amusing responses. We surveyed 100 people. Top 8 answers on the board. Name something a spouse might lie about to avoid disappointing their partner. The audience murmured knowingly, already thinking of answers like weight, spending money, or maybe forgetting an anniversary. Steve was preparing his comedic timing, ready for whatever entertaining response might come his way. Samantha stood there for what felt like an eternity. She looked at the board showing the 3 answers already revealed, then at Steve, then seemed to look past him at something only she could see. Her family members behind her started offering encouraging whispers, assuming she was just overthinking the answer. But something profound was happening inside Samantha's mind, something that went far deeper than game strategy. When Samantha finally spoke, her voice carried a weight that immediately shifted the entire atmosphere of the studio. Having a job. My husband has been pretending to go to work every day for 7 months. The words landed in the studio like a thunderclap. Steve's playful expression dissolved into genuine shock. The audience went completely silent. Even the camera operator seemed to pause, uncertain if they'd heard correctly. Steve Harvey, a man who'd built his career, on knowing exactly what to say in any moment, stood there speechless. He looked at Samantha, then at his card, then back at Samantha. The silence stretched on, heavy with the weight of what had just been revealed. Finally, Steve found his voice, though it was gentler than anyone had ever heard it on the show. Samantha, he said softly, stepping closer to the podium. Did you just say your husband has been pretending to have a job for 7 months? Samantha nodded, and for the first time since stepping up to the podium, her composed exterior began to crack. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she remained standing tall. He lost his job at the manufacturing plant last September. He was so ashamed, Mr. Harvey. He's been leaving the house every morning at 6:30 in his work clothes, taking his lunchbox, kissing me goodbye like nothing changed. But he hasn't been going to work. He's been sitting in the public library applying for jobs on their computers, sometimes just sitting in his truck in parking lots, waiting until it's time to come home. The studio remained dead silent except for the soft sound of several audience members crying. Steve put down his cards completely, abandoning any pretense of continuing the game normally. How did you find out? He asked gently, his voice carrying a mixture of concern and compassion that viewers had rarely heard from the typically jovial host. Samantha's voice broke as she continued. I work night shifts at the hospital, so I'm usually asleep when he leaves. But last month I got sick and had to come home early for my shift. I decided to surprise him at work with lunch to thank him for taking care of me while I was sick. When I got to the plant, they told me he hadn't worked there since September. They thought I knew. They assumed we were handling it together. Her shoulders shook with suppressed sobs. Steve moved around the podium entirely, standing directly beside Samantha, offering his presence as support. The production team made no move to intervene, recognizing that something extraordinary was happening. What happened when you confronted him? Steve asked quietly. I didn't, Samantha admitted, wiping tears from her cheeks. Not at first. I drove around for hours trying to understand. Then I started following him. I watched him go to the library. I saw him sitting in his truck eating the lunch I'd packed for him alone in an empty parking lot. He looked so defeated, Mr. Harvey. This man who's been my rock for 18 years, who's always been so strong and proud, looked completely broken. The audience was transfixed, many openly weeping now. Samantha's family members on stage had moved closer to her sister placing a supportive hand on her back. Steve's own eyes were glistening with unshed tears. "So, he still doesn't know that, you know?" Steve asked carefully. Samantha shook her head. "I've known for 3 weeks. I've been pretending that I don't know he's pretending. We're both acting out this charade. Every day he leaves for his non-existent job, and I wave goodbye like I believe him. He comes home and tells me about his day, making up stories about coworkers and meetings, and I nod and ask questions like, I don't know he spent the day desperately searching for work or just driving around to kill time." Steve turned to face the cameras directly, something he rarely did during regular gameplay. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, his voice heavy with emotion, "we're going to take a pause here because what's happening right now is more important than any game. Sometimes life gives us moments that demand our full attention and compassion. This is one of those moments." The audience remained respectfully silent as Steve turned back to Samantha. "Why haven't you told him you know?" he asked, his tone free of any judgment, just genuine curiosity and concern. Samantha took a shaky breath before answering. "Because I'm afraid it will break him completely. He's already so ashamed. He thinks he's protecting me from his failure, but I can see what it's doing to him. He's lost weight. He doesn't sleep. I hear him crying in the bathroom at night when he thinks I'm asleep. If I tell him I know, if I take away even this illusion of dignity he's trying to maintain, I'm afraid of what it might do to him." Steve nodded slowly, processing the depth of pain this couple was experiencing. "Samantha," he said, his voice stronger now, filled with purpose. "What you're describing isn't just about a job. It's about pride, shame, love, and the lies we tell to protect the people we care about. Do you understand how many families are going through exactly this right now?" Samantha shook her head, overwhelmed by the moment. Steve continued, his voice carrying to every corner of the studio. "We're in times where good, hard-working people are losing jobs through no fault of their own. And the shame that comes with that, especially for someone who's been the provider, it can be crushing. Your husband isn't alone in this, and neither are you." Steve looked at the production team and made a decision that would be talked about for years. "We're going to do something different today," he announced. "Samantha, is your husband watching right now?" Samantha's eyes widened in panic. He might be. He sometimes watches in the break room she caught herself, realizing she was about to continue the lie, even here. I mean, he might be watching somewhere. Steve took both of Samantha's hands in his, a gesture of support and solidarity. "Then let's talk to him. Let's talk to both of you and to every couple out there going through this." He turned to face the main camera. "Sir, if you're watching this, if you're Samantha's husband, I want you to know something. Your wife knows. She's known for weeks, and she loves you so much that she's been protecting your pride the same way you've been trying to protect her from worry." Samantha was sobbing now, but Steve continued, his voice firm but compassionate. "Brother, losing a job doesn't make you less of a man. It doesn't make you a failure. It makes you human in an economy that's tough on all of us. But lying about it, carrying that weight alone, that's what's killing you. And it's killing your wife to watch you suffer in silence." The studio audience began to applaud, not in celebration, but in support, in recognition of the truth being spoken. Steve raised his hand for quiet, not finished with what he needed to say. "Samantha, tell me about the man you married. Not the one who lost his job, but the man himself." Samantha's face transformed, a small smile breaking through her tears. "Michael is the best man I know. He's worked since he was 16. He put our 2 kids through college working double shifts. He's never missed a birthday, an anniversary, or a school play. When my mother was dying of cancer, he took time off work to drive her to every chemotherapy appointment because he said that's what family does. He's not defined by a job, Mr. Harvey. He's defined by his heart, and his heart is good." Steve turned back to the camera. "Michael, if you're watching, your wife just told America who you really are. Not an unemployed man hiding in shame, but a good man going through a hard time. And brother, I've been there. I've lived in my car. I've been homeless. I've been so broke I couldn't afford to pay attention. But I got through it because people saw me for more than my circumstances." Steve made another unprecedented decision. "Samantha, we're going to help. Not just with money or prizes, but with real support. We have connections to employers, job training programs, and career counselors, but more importantly, we're going to help you both learn how to be honest with each other again. Because that's what's really broken here, the communication, the trust that you can share your struggles without judgment. The other family, the Thompsons, had been watching all of this unfold. Without prompting, the Thompson family patriarch stepped forward. "Excuse me, Mr. Harvey," he said. "I own a construction company in North Carolina. If Michael is willing to relocate, or even if he just needs temporary work, I've got a job for him. A good job with benefits. Any man who inspires this kind of loyalty from his wife is someone I want on my team." The studio erupted in applause. Samantha looked stunned, unable to process the sudden turn of events, but more offers began coming from the audience. A woman stood up, identifying herself as a human resources director, offering to review Michael's resume and provide interview coaching. A man shared that his company was hiring remote workers and would guarantee an interview. Within minutes, what had started as a moment of painful revelation had transformed into an outpouring of support. Steve had to call for order, but his face showed deep emotion. "This is what I'm talking about. This is what happens when we stop hiding our struggles and let people help. Samantha, your courage in sharing this truth hasn't just helped your family. You've helped every family watching who's going through the same thing. But the most powerful moment was yet to come." As the taping was wrapping up, a production assistant rushed over to Steve with a phone. "Mr. Harvey," she said urgently. "We have someone on the line who says he's Michael, Samantha's husband. He's been watching from his truck." The studio went silent again. Steve took the phone and put it on speaker. "Michael," he said gently. "Is that you, brother?" A broken voice came through the speaker. "It's me, Mr. Harvey. I've been watching. I saw everything. I'm in the parking lot of the library. I've been sitting here for 3 hours, afraid to go home, afraid to face another day of pretending." Samantha grabbed the phone, her voice urgent and full of love. "Michael, baby, come home. Please just come home. We don't have to pretend anymore. I love you. I've always loved you. A job doesn't define you. You define you. And you're everything to me and our children." Michael's voice broke completely. "I'm so sorry, Sam. I'm so sorry I lied. I just didn't want you to see me as a failure. I didn't want the kids to know their dad couldn't provide. I thought I'd find something before you found out. I thought I could fix it." Steve took the phone back gently. "Michael, brother, listen to me. You're not a failure. A failure would have given up. A failure would have stopped trying. You've been going to that library every day fighting for your family. That's not failure. That's heroism. It's misguided heroism because you should have let your partner help you fight, but it's heroism nonetheless." The studio was completely silent, everyone straining to hear Michael's response. "Mr. Harvey, I don't know how to come back from this. I don't know how to face her knowing she knows I've been lying for 7 months." Steve's response was immediate and firm. "You face her the same way you faced every other challenge in your 18 years together, as a team. You walk in that door, you tell the whole truth, and you rebuild together. And Michael, you've got job offers waiting. People who watched your wife describe you want to hire you. Your story inspired help, not judgment." There was a long pause before Michael spoke again. "Sam, are you still there?" Samantha was crying too hard to speak clearly, but she managed to say, "I'm here. I'm always here. I'm coming home," Michael said, his voice stronger now. "I'm coming home right now and I'm done pretending about everything." The relief in his voice was palpable. The phone call ended and the studio erupted in applause and tears. Steve stood there for a moment, visibly moved by what had just transpired. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said finally, "what we just witnessed is what happens when shame meets love, when fear meets courage, and when isolation meets community. Samantha and Michael are going to be okay, not because they won a game show, but because they stopped playing games with each other.